Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, Sundays noon to 1. Learn more online at mwmfinancial.tax.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Speaking of a state that doesn't believe in the pillars of living in a free society, as we were talking about with those Western European nations that J.D. Vance dressed down. So here back home, so goes the story in Illinois. One of Illinois' most recent and noxious laws is passed by Governor Jelly Belly and the noblemen and magistrates in Springfield. It's to compel all private health insurers to cover elective abortions and abortion-inducing drugs without any cost-sharing arrangements such as deductibles or copays. We'll just all pay for them. Yeah. Backdoor taxpayer funding of abortions, which, of course, we provide through the front door, Medicaid as well. Because Jay Belly is intent on making Illinois the abortion capital of the world, seems, which is a very odd goal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so bizarre to me. And then we bus people here from neighboring states, too. It's like a staycation for your abortion. Pay for everything.
There is litigation to that end because this arguably, and I think very persuasively, is a First and 14th Amendment violation of individual rights. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by one of the attorneys that is involved in the litigation against the governor and the state. He is, of course, our friend Peter Breen, who is the executive VP and the head of litigation at the Thomas More Society. Peter, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning, guys.
So, give us the state of play here with respect to the litigation and the prospects for success.
Sure. And so we filed suit in the federal court in Chicago asserting religious liberty claims, free association claims. So the idea is that they provide exemptions for some of the plans. So if you have the sort of plan that can get out of the requirement, they'll let you out. But if you're a church, if you're a person of faith, if you're a pro-life institution, you can't get out. So you didn't get an exemption. Others did. And so that is the principal claim. But we're also asserting the various
just hold there because that's important. So if you're a religious-based provider, no religious exemption. If you're not a religious-based provider, you get an exemption from the mandate?
Well, if you're big enough to get an out-of-state plan, well, then you get an exemption. But anybody who's stuck here, so the smaller guy, the smaller institution, Illinois Right to Life, your various students who are stuck, they're required by their colleges to get insurance coverage. Well, in Illinois, that insurance coverage has abortion attached to it. So these poor students are stuck. They have to pay for it. Otherwise, they get expelled. And otherwise, Illinois Right to Life, the Pro-Life Action League, they're small enough, they can't put in a self-insurance pool.
Yes, I see.
Small nonprofits. So that's the thing. The small guy gets whacked, and oftentimes, that's, we're on the defense here. So we are the smaller guy. Yeah, if you're big company, you don't.
Haven't we been fighting this same sort of cause of action since Little Sisters of the Poor were folded into the Obamacare mandates?
Yeah, this all stems from that, and some of the theories. The Supreme Court had pulled back on religious liberties, in part because it was being extended for crazy things like the Church of Marijuana or what have you. But the problem is now that the other side has been hitting Christians. Look, we're supposedly the majority religion in the country. Well, now we're being discriminated against. So you've seen the Supreme Court extend religious rights. You saw a good extension during COVID. And so one reason that we're suing now is because the Supreme Court has gotten friendlier to religious liberties like the claims that we're bringing. And that's why we are very hopeful to be able to succeed.
Did you wait until
in
Trump?
federal court, though, not state court?
Yeah, so we actually had already filed in state court and got tied up. But the state courts are a lot less friendly. The composition of the state courts is less friendly, and really what we're looking at now is that the federal court is going to be, because of this change in the Supreme Courts in the last few years, we're going to be a lot friendlier reception there.
Did you wait until Trump took office to file the suit on a federal level?
No, we filed beforehand,
Okay.
But at the same time, I will say. Look, Trump taking office doesn't necessarily change the federal judiciary, but when you're seeing his approval rating at the highest levels ever, when he's being the most, aggressive against corruption in the government and the like, and his administration certainly would support our position, that is only helpful.
Not to mention,
federal judge is clear to go with us.
Not to mention setting up an anti-Christian task force. Anti-Christian discrimination task force.
Yeah, well, and of course, we represented those pro-life activists who had been imprisoned, and so we were so grateful for the pardons, and he's done a lot of good things. And obviously the issue is a little different than it was when he took office 8 years ago, but he has still been very good about religious liberty and very strong on these issues. Which is, if you want to be pro-life, why in the world can't you?
But as I understand it, there's one thing missing from your litigation in federal court at present, and that is a plaintiff with standing.
Well, we have some folks, but here's the problem. We would love to have more individuals who are being forced into this arrangement, so they can't get health insurance elsewhere. And two, if we have employers with more than 50 employees, we'd love to have them as well. Because the problem is, when you go through litigation, it can take a long time. People can drop out, and we can't always add people later on. And we know people are finding out about this, and they're just incensed. So we'd love to have them join the lawsuit. We're still in an early phase where we can get them in if they would like.
Is the employer with more than 50 employees, is that a key sort of hole to fill in terms of the plaintiffs?
Yes, it is, because it's tough to hold on to those folks. Even if you get them to sign up, people get sold, people get merged, things happen. So we want to make sure to try to get that too, if we can. Employer of over 50, but then also individuals who have these sincere religious objections but are forced into this coverage.
And just to be clear, and in case there's anybody listening who fits that description and has reticence, they're not paying anything out of pocket to join this suit. This is, this is not going to be any expense. It's just going to be sort of the time to participate as the case winds its way through court.
Absolutely, and we have lots of plaintiffs, so no one's. It's not like it's going to be you versus the world, but it's you're in with a lot of other folks and institutions. So free legal services is what we do at Thomas More Society. That's what our donors allow us to do, and so no cost to you.
Are we? Excuse my ignorance, but are we the only state with taxpayer-funded abortions?
There are about 7. And so we are, but it's just, this is home for us. So we're particularly interested, as the Thomas More Society, this is in our backyard. But we are also looking at challenges in some of those other states, like your Colorado, California. California, they've challenged it before, but not necessarily under the new Supreme Court. New York State, there are challenges going on there. So that is, but it is a national. I hope not to call it a trend. I hope it's stopped. I hope we will stop it and keep it from spreading. But again, you've got about 7 states right now doing this.
Boy, 7 out of 50. That almost makes Illinois sound like we're extremists. Doesn't it? I hate to use that word. It's such an ugly word, but doesn't it? I mean, 7 states. That's not much of a trend. That sounds like some states that are grappling with extremism.
Absolutely. And look, Dan, you noted. Pritzker's trying to turn us into the abortion capital of the country and really the Western Hemisphere. Our abortion rate is nearly doubled since Dobbs. I mean, we're going up towards 100,000 abortions a year in Illinois, and traditional rate was about 40,000. Obviously, 40 is too much. 100 is insane for a state of our size.
But you put that factor in the part that Indiana and Iowa, those 2 states have abortion restrictions in place.
Absolutely. So we are trying to attract, say, the city of Carbondale. They are now at 3 abortion clinics. They had 0 before Dobbs. And the entire southeastern United States is being recruited to come to Carbondale, Illinois, to abort their children. You get abortion clinics set up on the borders. Yeah, it's really horrific that is what our state is going to be known for in the country.
Well, I mean, also gambling and drugs, maybe prostitution legalization.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not coming yet, but perhaps in the not too distant future. I mean, that's the mob economy that we run here in Illinois. So
it's insane, though, because, I mean, think about it. We have every advantage in the world. We could be the world's leader on AI. We could be the world's leader on all of these modern technologies. And instead, we're looking at abortion, gambling, prostitution. It's insane.
Yeah, well, I guess you'll have to bring that up with the Godfather there, Pritzker. Anyway.
We got a text message. Somebody wants to know how they can reach you.
Oh, yeah, good.
Yeah. ThomasMoreSociety.org, and Moore's with 1 O, ThomasMoreSociety.org. Just go over there. We've got the legal help button. You can submit to us, and we'd love to hear from you.
Okay. Yeah, and if you're for whatever reason you're having trouble connecting, then just call us at AM 562, and we'll get you in touch with Thomas More. Peter Breen is the executive VP and the head of litigation at the Thomas More Society. Peter, again, just one more time, the contact info.
Sure. ThomasMoreSociety.org. O-R-G. Moore's with 1 O. ThomasMoreSociety.org.
Peter Breen, thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Enjoy uninterrupted programming from Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson around the clock, all day, every day, including daily replays of Chicago's Morning Answer on Dan and Amy 24/7. Listen now at danandamy247.com.
It's your life, your legacy. Shouldn't it be your choice? For nearly 2 centuries, Catholic Cemetery Chicago has been a haven for families, offering sacred spaces to honor these legacies. Take an active role by